Hello, Fearless Gamers! Matt here for Fearless Games, and welcome to another entry in the Book Corner. Today's book review is going to be of Murtagh by Christopher Paolini. Son of Morzan, Forsworn of Galbatorix, Kingkiller. All these titles follow Murtagh like a curse, making life in any city and town of Allegatia near impossible for him. But this had because while the Empire has fallen and the reign of Galbatorix is over, the minds of the people are not easily changed or quick to forgiveness, and they feel that Murtagh still needs to pay for the crimes committed during the reign of the Empire. But this hasn't stopped Murtagh's desire to help those in need and do what he can to keep the land safe. And when whispers of a new darkness threatening the land reach him, he is quick to jump into action, armed with his father's sword Zarok and joined by his dragon companion Thorn. Murtagh sets out on a new adventure and continues on the story of Eragon. I gotta tell you, this book was great. To quote Vegeta from Team 4-Star, "Never have I needed something so much and not known until I've received it." That's this book. I always enjoyed the inheritance cycle. I liked how the story went. I enjoyed how it ended. And while I did wish there were more stories in it, I didn't realize how badly I wanted another story until I found out this book was coming out. I was like, I need to read this book. It was just so good. And the way it's written, it doesn't feel like it's been 15 years since Inheritance Cycle had ended. The way it's written, the flow, the use of language and everything, it's just clear that he hasn't lost his touch with this book. In fact, his writing style, I think, has kind of improved. No more are those long text descriptions that make it feel like you're reading some sort of textbook for school. It flows nicely and the information is given to you in a more narrative feel to keep within it, to make it still feel like a story throughout. And it also gives us a nice insight into Murtagh and some of the things he went through under the reign of Galbatorix, which is really cool. And we also get insight to how everyone is responded to Murtagh's actions through the book series. It's really cool to see because unlike in some other stories where a villain turns good, people are still blaming him for everything that happened. And it's great, like he cannot reveal who he is because it's a 50-50 shot. The person's either going to be like, well, if you don't do what I say, I'm going to report you. Or they just flat out say, arrest this man, hang him, it's the evil Murtagh. It's great. And even the events of Inheritance and how people remember it is very realistic. It's just so cool and really enjoyable to find out what's been going on, and it's really hard to describe it in a way, but it was just really cool to see, like, oh wow, this is how everyone's reacting, and it feels so natural, and you're like, yeah, no, this makes sense. Which is why, in part of the stories, throughout it, Murtagh kind of thinks about what his situation is like and how everyone views him and views Eragon, and he can get a little whiny to a point of almost being annoying, but it's understandable why he's feeling the way he does. Unlike some other series where the main character can get a little whiny, this makes sense. It's logical why he feels the way he does. And again, he gets his little whiny moment, and just before it gets annoying, it stops and we move on, which is great. The story stays focused on Murtagh. There isn't a lot of cameos of characters from the Inheritance cycle that steal the show and kind of direct everything away from Murtagh. No, the book stays focused on the character we are here to read about, which is phenomenal. The story is great, full of action, suspense, and mystery. There is a lot of moments that you're like, what's going to happen next? Is this how this ends? There's got to be more. How are we going to get out of this situation? And some of the ways that they do it are very clever, to a point where it's like you never would have thought of solving the problem that way. And some stuff is a little obvious when you think about it. Probably the biggest problem in the book is there is a cliche that's used. It's a common cliche for sequels that they tend to do to try and keep the story feeling relevant, but it always usually ends up detracting from the original story, which is, again, when it happened, I was like, oh no, please, no, we're not doing that, are we? But thankfully, in the Inheritance cycle, there were a few gaps in information, making it where thinking about what the new reveals are, you're like, okay, yeah, no, it works. It doesn't really change anything in the books, but it still doesn't change, it still doesn't make you not go, oh, we're really doing this cliche in this book, really? But again, as much as I didn't like this part, I still enjoyed this book a lot, and I think it was worth reading because it was just so good. And it makes me want to have more stories in the Eragon world. And thankfully, according to the author in the author's note to the reader, there is more. This isn't what he considers book 5. There's another story that he wants to tell that he views as book 5, which is great. That means we might get another book in this series, and I cannot wait. I hope it does happen, because this story was great. It was awesome, and it left me wanting more. It does have a satisfying conclusion, so you're not going to be left going, oh, what? No, you can't leave it like that. You do get a satisfying ending where you're like, okay, cool. If this is the last book, I'll be happy with that. But it's going to leave you wanting more. And hopefully this isn't the end. So, what do you all think? Those who have read the book, what was your favorite part? What was your least favorite part? And if you're going to get into spoiler territory, please try to write your comments in a way so those who haven't read the books aren't spoiled by reading your comment. But yeah, let me know what you think about this book. If you like what you've seen here, please give and consider hitting that subscribe button so you know when more videos come out. Hit that little bell icon so you actually get told when more videos come out. And if you like this video, give that like button a hit. We'd really appreciate that. So, thank you all for watching, and until next time, fearless gamers, take care.